22 weapons so stupid they attacked their own side. This time, the other half of the story. These weapons look just as ridiculous. The difference, these ones worked. Some changed the course of entire wars. Some are still in service today.
Clear the gun.
All of them started as ideas
Alarm!
that sane people
Sie
told
haben
their
Kanonen!
inventors to abandon
Fire!
immediately.
Fire! Fire!
Bouncing Bomb, Operation Chastise, UK, WW2. Barnes Wallis designed a bomb that would spin backwards at 500 revolutions per minute, skip across a reservoir like a stone, sink against a dam wall, and detonate at depth. The RAF told him it was impossible. He proved it on a garden pond with marbles. On May 16th to 17th, 1943, 19 Lancasters flew at 60 feet above water in complete darkness and destroyed the Muna and Ada dams, flooding the Ruhr Valley and knocking out hydroelectric power for German factories for months. A weapon demonstrated with marbles in a garden destroyed 2 of Nazi Germany's most critical infrastructure targets in one night. Carrier pigeons, multiple nations, WW1 to WW2. Over 100,000 pigeons served in WW1. The US Army's Chair Army delivered a message that saved 194 surrounded men despite being shot through the breast, blinded in one eye, and losing a leg. A pigeon named G.Y. Joe saved an Italian town from Allied bombing by reaching the airbase before the planes launched. Pigeons maintained a 95% message delivery rate in conditions where radio failed completely. They were used in active combat until 1957. Pigeon Cameras, Germany, World War I. Julius Neubronner patented a miniature camera strapped to a carrier pigeon's chest in 1907, using a pneumatic timer to photograph automatically during flight. German military intelligence deployed them for aerial reconnaissance, obtaining photographs of positions no aircraft could reach. The images were often blurred, but provided genuine intelligence value. Modern nano-drone surveillance is a direct technological descendant of a camera strapped to a bird in 1907. DD Sherman Tank, the swimming tank, UK/US, WW2. Standard M4 Shermans equipped with a collapsible canvas flotation screen and twin propellers. On D-Day, DD Shermans were the first Allied armor to reach the beaches. On Utah Beach, most made it, contributing to comparatively light casualties. On Omaha Beach, most sank in rough seas, contributing to catastrophic ones. The swimming tank was one of the decisive technical advantages of the Normandy invasion, and the difference between the two beaches demonstrated exactly how much it mattered. Operation Fortitude, the inflatable army, UK, WW2. The Allied deception before D-Day created an entire fake army group with fake radio traffic, fake supply depots, and an army of inflatable rubber tanks, trucks, and landing craft visible from German reconnaissance aircraft. Hitler held his strongest reserve, the 15th Army, at Pas-de-Calais for weeks after D-Day, waiting for an attack that never came. Inflatable rubber equipment kept 150,000 German soldiers in the wrong place during the most critical weeks of the war. Stielhandgranate, the stick grenade, Germany, WW1. A grenade head attached to a long wooden handle. The handle extended the thrower's lever arm, allowing the same explosive charge to be thrown nearly twice as far. It became the iconic German grenade of both world wars, immediately recognizable, widely copied, and militarily effective for 30 years. A weapon invented by adding a stick to an existing design outperformed every competing grenade concept for 3 decades. Q-ships, EUK, WW1/WW2. Disguised as helpless merchant vessels, Q-ships concealed heavy naval guns behind fake cargo hatches. When a U-boat surfaced to sink them cheaply with its deck gun, the Q-ship would drop its disguise and open fire at point-blank range. Q-ships sank 14 confirmed U-boats. More significantly, they forced German submarines to switch to torpedo attacks exclusively. Slower, more expensive, and ultimately less effective. A disguised ship changed German submarine doctrine for the entire war. Dazzle Camouflage, UK, WW1. Naval artist Norman Wilkinson proposed painting British warships in bold, abstract geometric patterns, not to make them invisible, but to make it impossible for a U-boat commander to judge their speed, heading, and distance accurately enough to aim a torpedo. Over 4,000 Allied ships were painted in the dazzle patterns during World War I. A warship painted to look like a cubist artwork was the Royal Navy's response to the U-boat crisis. PIAT, Projector Infantry Anti-Tank, UK, WW2. A heavy, spring-loaded trough that fired a shaped charge bomb. It looked like a plumber's nightmare. It had no muzzle blast and no back blast, the only Allied infantry anti-tank weapon that could be fired from inside a building. Sergeant Ernest Smith used one to single-handedly stop a German tank attack in Italy, earning the Victoria Cross. The weapon that looked like a toilet repair tool was more useful in urban combat than any conventional anti-tank weapon of the era. SOE Briefcase Radio, UK, WW2. A suitcase-sized radio transceiver disguised as an ordinary briefcase. Agents in occupied Europe used them to coordinate resistance operations, call in airstrikes, and transmit intelligence to London. The entire French resistance network, Norwegian sabotage operations, and Yugoslav partisan coordination depended on SOE radios. A radio in a briefcase was the communications infrastructure of the most effective irregular warfare campaign in history. DUKW, the amphibious truck, US WW2. A standard six-wheel drive military truck modified with a watertight hull and propeller. It could drive off a beach, into the ocean, load supplies from ships, and return to shore without stopping. On D-Day, DUKWs were the primary logistics link between supply ships and the beachhead during the critical early hours. After the war, the civilian version became iconic as a tourist vehicle. A modified cargo truck that could swim is still giving tourist rides in Boston and London today. Weasel, the snow vehicle, US WW2. A small tracked carrier designed for snow operations. Lightweight enough to float, narrow enough to navigate forest trails. Norwegian resistance fighters used it to coordinate sabotage operations across occupied highlands. Allied forces used it in the Italian winter campaign, where conventional vehicles were useless. After the war, it became the primary vehicle for Antarctic research expeditions. A vehicle designed to resupply spies in Norwegian snow became the template for polar exploration. Kettering Bug, the first cruise missile, US 1918. An unmanned biplane with a preset gyroscope that would fly a fixed course and dive into a target after a calculated number of engine revolutions. It flew successfully in tests in 1918, carrying 180 pounds of explosive 120 miles for $400 per unit. The war ended before deployment. It was the first functional cruise missile in history, predating the V-1 by 25 years. Charles Kettering also invented the electric car starter, needed gasoline and freon. He built a cruise missile as a side project. Haftolladung, the magnetic mine, Germany, World War II. A 3-kilogram shaped charge with 3 powerful magnets, designed to be placed by hand directly onto tank armor. It could penetrate 140 millimeters of armor, enough to destroy any Allied tank. German infantry used them in the close urban fighting of Stalingrad, wherever they could get close enough. Soldiers who used it were frequently awarded the Iron Cross. Many did not survive. It was one of the most effective anti-tank weapons of the war and one of the most dangerous to operate. Hwacha, the Korean rocket launcher, Korea, 15th century. A cart-mounted platform firing up to 200 rocket-propelled arrows simultaneously. At the Battle of Hangzhou in 1593, 3,400 Korean defenders used 40 Hwachas to repel an assault by 30,000 Japanese troops. The Hwacha is the conceptual ancestor of every multiple rocket launcher in modern warfare, from the Soviet Katyusha to the American HIMARS. invented 400 years before any of them. Corner shot, Israel, 2003, where Germany's Krummlauf curved barrel failed spectacularly. Israel succeeded 60 years later. The corner shot hinges at the center, allowing the barrel and a camera to pivot around corners while the trigger stays fixed. The operator sees what the camera sees on a small screen. In service in 15 countries including the US, Russia, and China. The problem that destroyed the Krummlauf was solved not by bending the barrel, but by bending the gun. Hellburners, Netherlands, 1585. Dutch engineers loaded 2 ships with tons of gunpowder and sent them drifting toward the Spanish pontoon bridge, blockading Antwerp. When they detonated, the blast killed over 800 Spanish soldiers and destroyed the bridge, the largest man-made explosion in history to that point. The blast so alarmed King Philip II that he ordered excessive caution in future naval operations, contributing to the strategic failures of the Spanish Armada 3 years later. Greek fire, Byzantine Empire, 7th century. A liquid incendiary that burned on water and could not be extinguished. The formula remains unknown to this day. The Byzantine Navy deployed it from siphons on warships, projecting burning liquid onto enemy ships. It saved Constantinople from Arab sieges in 674 and 717 AD. The formula was so closely guarded, it was never written down and was lost when Constantinople fell in 1453. The best information security system in medieval history, no documentation whatsoever. Project Habakkuk, the ice aircraft carrier, UK, WW2. Geoffrey Pike proposed building an aircraft carrier from Pikecrete. 14% wood pulp, 86% frozen water. Stronger than concrete, self-repairing, melting far more slowly than ice. A 1 kilogram block deflected a .38 caliber bullet in testing. A prototype 1,000-ton block was built in Canada and floated for 2 summers without significant melting. Cancelled when the shipping crisis eased. The material was entirely real. A block of ice and sawdust sat in a Canadian lake impervious to summer heat, waiting for a carrier that was never built. Chakram, the flying disc, Sikh warriors, 17th to 19th century. A flat metal ring with a sharpened outer edge thrown by spinning it off the finger. Sikh warriors carried multiple chakrams stacked on their turbans and threw them with precision at ranges up to 40 meters. Silent, reusable, requiring no ammunition supply chain. A skilled thrower could decapitate a mounted opponent. The weapon that required no gunpowder, no maintenance, and no resupply remained effective for 2 centuries of Sikh warfare. Ribol de Coin, the medieval machine gun, Europe, 14th to 15th century. A cart-mounted battery of up to 36 parallel, small-caliber barrels, all fired simultaneously by a single ignition, predating the Gatling gun by 500 years. King Edward III of England used one in 1339. Milan deployed them during the Italian Wars. A single volley projected dozens of projectiles across a narrow front simultaneously, devastating against infantry in confined spaces. The concept of multiple simultaneous projectiles from one platform was being explored in the 14th century. Exacto, the bullet that steers itself, US, 2015. DARPA's extreme accuracy tasked ordnance produced a .50 caliber bullet with small fins and an optical nose sensor that adjusts trajectory mid-flight to track a moving target. In 2015, a first-time shooter successfully hit a moving target, a result requiring years of training with a conventional rifle. A bullet that changes direction after being fired applies guided missile technology to individual rifle ammunition, and would fundamentally change the concept of marksmanship if deployed at scale.